Nimrod was the first king to rule over all the Holy Lands. He was the first king to ever mint gold and silver coins. However, he became so intoxicated with power that he deluded himself into thinking he was a god. Nimrod's closest advisor was an astrologer and an idol maker named Azar. Once, Azar spent the entire night studying the stars and the planets and contemplating their unusual movements. He burst into Nimrod's palace and said, "I have seen something strange in the stars tonight. According to my calculations, a child is to be born soon who will bring an end to our religion and our civilization. He will destroy us and call people to his religion. He will be born soon. We must act fast." Nimrod asked him, "Has this child been born yet?" He replied, "Not yet, and that is why you must act immediately to separate all the men and women of the city so this monster cannot come into existence." Without delay, the royal decree was issued and put into action. For a number of days, men were forbidden from having any contact with women. The only exceptions were the palace and Azar's family, as they believed that the prophecy indicated the child could not come from their families. Azar's brother, Tarih, was an exception, and he was not prohibited from being with his wife Sarah, who was a righteous woman and the daughter of a prophet. On that very night, without anyone's knowledge, Sarah became pregnant with a child, the only conception in the entire city during those nights. Upon discovering that his brother and sister-in-law had been together, Azar became suspicious and summoned the midwives. He ordered them to examine her and inform him if they found any signs of pregnancy. However, God concealed the signs from their view, and they could not find any evidence of her being pregnant. Sometime later, Sarah finally gave birth to a son. She and Tarih named the child Ibrahim. Azar discovered their secret and decided to take the infant to Nimrod and report him. Tarih and his wife convinced him not to, fearing that he would bear the full burden of the child's death. Instead, Sarah offered to take Ibrahim to a cave and leave him there to face whatever fate awaited him. Azar accepted this plan. She quickly took her son to a cave outside the city, where she prayed for God's protection and forgiveness for her inability to be a mother. Then she left him there, relying on God. She secretly visited and nursed him as much as possible, without bringing any attention to her brother-in-law Azar. As time passed, Ibrahim grew healthy and strong. At the age of 13, Ibrahim left the cave for the first time, following a trail that was leading away from it. He eventually arrived in the city and inquired about the whereabouts of his family. They guided him to his family's location. As he arrived, Azar realized who Ibrahim was and was shocked to still see him alive. He remembered the prophecy that he had 13 years ago. Ibrahim's mother pleaded with him not to take any action. As a result, Azar chose to care for him and raise Ibrahim as one of his own sons. The next morning, Azar decided to take Ibrahim to the temple to offer thanks to the gods for his safe return. All these years, Ibrahim had always felt a strong connection to God and had quietly worshipped him in his own way. He felt excited to think that he would finally learn how to worship him correctly. When they entered the magnificent temple, Ibrahim was amazed by the sights, sounds, and smells. People were engaged in all sorts of rituals before the statues of stone and wood. This puzzled Ibrahim because he believed his creator was greater than any of these creations. Hours passed and Ibrahim simply watched their every move and listened to every word closely. He noticed that the statues remained silent and remained still, no matter how they called out to them or what gifts they offered them. Towards the evening, when the day's rituals came to an end, Ibrahim asked some of the priests, "What are you worshipping?" They looked curiously at the unfamiliar boy, then replied, "We are worshipping idols. We spend our days in devotion to them." He replied, "Do they hear you when you call them? Or do they benefit you or cause you harm?" The priests looked nervously at each other and at Azar. Then one of them broke the silence. We do not know whether they hear us or not, but we worship them because we found our ancestors worshipping like this. Ibrahim had seen and heard more than he needed to. These idols were not gods. A true God should be powerful and wise, able to hear and respond to the prayers of its followers, and actively provide for their needs. Only such a God was worthy of worship, and these idols were nothing more than lifeless statues. Azar quickly stepped in. He grabbed Ibrahim by the arm and took him out of the temple. Ibrahim asked him, "Do you really consider these statues as gods? I believe you and your people are in clear error." Azar could hardly believe the blasphemy he was hearing. Yet, he managed to suppress his inner anger as he reminded himself that the boy was seeing these things for the first time. He was sure he would come around in time. He explained to Ibrahim that the idols in the temple were indeed not truly gods. They were but representations of the true gods. The priests performed these rituals all day long to please the true gods who lived in the skies. He promised Ibrahim to introduce him to these gods soon.